Hey, it's Mike with TechBB, and we're going to do the review on the Dangerous Power G3 Spec-R. Now, I remember when I did the first G3 review, you know, I was a little bit disappointed because of the modes. I felt that they designed a great gun, had the potential to be an amazing entry-level tournament gun, very easy to maintain in the side and the other, and then, you know, very little support for the board. You know, the modes that were in the board were lacking. There was no ability to flash them or anything like that. It kind of bothered me. But anyway, now we're on to the second release of the G3, which is the G3 Spec-R. Now, there are a lot of changes with the Spec-R. Most of them are going to be, very slight changes. One of the first things you'll notice is obviously the milling is a little bit different. It's kind of cool because it's got this little jut that sticks out here at the front, very similar to like the Proto PM8. That little bump there that feels really good when you hold it on your hand. Something else they did, they changed the trigger up. The trigger, you'll notice, has kind of a Sith design. It looks a little bit kind of like an Ego trigger. One of the other things is they did away with a hook, which, you know, obviously not very many people I saw still use the hook, but they did away with that little piece of metal that went across the back of the bolt. Still kept the wraps on-off ASA, which is one of the best on-off ASAs I've seen on the market, rail mounted at the bottom. One of the biggest things they did was they went from the optical to the micro switch. And for me personally, I'm a micro switch player. I love micro switches. They just feel great in the hands when I'm shooting them. Something that a lot of people don't know about is that Dangerous Power actually owns the patent on that dump valve design. So how that bolt slides forward and how it kind of goes and uncorks like that dump valve design, they actually own the patent on. And they also actually own the patent on the clamping feed neck. I didn't know that. But they actually own that patent as well. But we had this gun, shot great. Probably one of the biggest complaints with it, and there's not really going to be a lot that they can do about it just because of how light the gun is. This gun is great. If you were looking for a super lightweight gun, I believe this is probably one of the lightest guns that's on the market. But, you know, the gun does have a noticeable amount of kick, which most guns that are sub 2 pounds tend to do. Anything that's going to be 2 pounds and under, you're going to get a little bit of bolt rise or a little bit of barrel rise when you shoot the gun. Another thing that I'm not too particularly crazy about is I don't like the breakaway magnet design of the trigger. Basically how it works is you know, here's the swab, here's the trigger, the magnet is up here at the top, and then it breaks away when you pull the trigger. Not a fan of that. The first time I ever had an experience with that was back with my Carnivore on the first Eclipse style triggers. I don't like that kind of magnet style at all, just because the least amount of tension is in the very back of the trigger pull. The most amount of tension is at the very front of the trigger pull, and it causes the gun to bounce very easily. This gun didn't have any problems with bounce, but I can see it if people set their triggers up incorrectly, having a lot of problems with bounce with this gun. I think they need to get the magnet in the back of it so that the tension is in the very back of the trigger pull, not at the very beginning. That's how it should be set up. I don't like that breakaway magnet design at all. Hopefully there'll be, you know, maybe some aftermarket triggers, maybe somebody can come out with something to make it how most paintball guns are. But the trigger does feel nice, and once you get it set up, it is really light and snappy, but it is very reminiscent of the, kind of like how the Ego triggers were before they put the springs in the back. Also kind of like how the Carnivore or the E-Blade triggers were, with the breakaway magnet being at the top of the trigger instead of behind it. Not that big of a deal, but, you know, preference from me. One thing about the Spec-R that's really cool is that just like with the Revy, it comes with a gauge adapter for the back of the gun. And this is very simple. It comes with a little tool that allows you to tighten this. You can even slightly unscrew the set screw, and you can zero in the gauge perfectly, screw it into the back of your gun. You'll know exactly what your pressure is running at. It'd be really nice to see if you're getting a lot of drop off or if you're getting a little bit of creep. That'll definitely tell you. Reg is very easy to take apart. Let's go ahead and get the camera in a little bit closer, and what we're going to do is we're going to take apart the bolt, take apart the regulator, go out and do an efficiency test. Alright, so let's take apart the Spec-R. Not a lot to this gun. So let's go ahead and slide out the bolt stop. There's the bolt. As you can see, it's pretty much an O-ringless bolt, other than the exception of the bumper that's on the back of it. you know, throw your lube on here. All the O-rings are inside the gun. And that's it for the bolt. Very simple. Let's go ahead and take a look at the gauge adapter. Let's put that on here now. Basically what this does is this replaces your bolt plug and screws into the gun. There we go. Now you can just use a small Allen key to tighten this. It does have a little metal rod that comes with it to screw it in. And then as you can see there on the back, you can adjust it. If you slightly loosen up the set screw, you can adjust the dial to make sure that the gauge lines up perfectly. It's a really trick little design there. And let's go ahead and take apart and maintain the regulator. It's very simple to maintain this regulator. Set the gun aside. All you have to do, grab it by the middle here, unscrew the top piece, give it a tap on the table. Out comes all of the conical washers and the piston. Throw your favorite lube on there, down there at the bottom, a little bit at the bottom of the piston here. Clean up the inside, slide it back in. If you ever notice any pressure creep or any problems with your piston or any problems with your regulator, most of the time it's going to be the regulator seat that's at the bottom of this adjustment screw. So what you'll have to do is either send it into Dangerous Power, they can take care of it for you, or you're going to have to get a pair of C-clip pullers, pop that out, unscrew it out, remove the reg seat. It looks like a little pencil eraser. Put the new one in place, put it back down in there, and you should be good to go. Then you should only have to worry about that maybe after maybe 50 to 70 cases. You might start getting reg creep, but that's typically what the problem is. And there you go. You just maintain the regulator. And now what we'll do, while we've got it, the camera nice and close, is let's go ahead and weigh it. Probably one of the best features about the G3 Spec-R is how little it actually weighs. A lot of people like lightweight guns. Alright, got the macro line back in here. And we'll set the bolt plug. Oops. Back in here. And let's go ahead and turn it on. Okay, as you can see, the gun turns on. Yeah, let's spin the scale around here, make it a little easier. £1 pound, 13.4 ounces. 1 pound, 13.4 ounces. So let's go ahead and take this gun out on the field and let's do an efficiency test. Hey, it's Mike with Tech BB, and we're about to do the efficiency test on the brand new Dangerous Power G3 Spec-R. And so what I'm going to do is walk over here and take the camera off the tripod. It's always the scariest part. And let's go ahead and show you the gauge. Looks like we're sitting right at about 4,000 psi, just a hair over 4,000 psi. And let's go ahead and take a tank temperature reading. 98 degrees, about 98 degrees on the tank. So now what we're going to do is we're going to load up our first pod. And let's go ahead and shoot it over the chronograph. 297. That looks good to me. 296, 297, good. So we're good there. Now, a lot of people ask, why do we take a tank temperature reading? The reason why is when we first started doing our efficiency test, we got a lot of people on the internet, claiming that they had special settings and that's why their guns shoot so much better than ours did in the video and all this nonsense, or our tank was cold or our tank was hot, and so we just take a tank temperature reading to show you where we're sitting on that, just to kind of shut that nonsense up. And then nonsense. That's what we're all about. Now you're going to see a nice pink stream here coming out of this gun. And RPS Paintball has been nice enough to sponsor the TechBB show. And we really appreciate their support. Whoa. Is that all we got? You think you'll take one more? Nope. That was all you get. Well, that was a full pod. So put that back. Hold on, put this back. That was pretty much a full pod.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So this is pretty much a full pod that we got here. So out of the Dangerous Power G3 Spec-R, we got 5 pods. Now something that I noticed is that when we weighed the gun before we did the efficiency test, we had the gauge in there. That's the heavy configuration. So let's go ahead and weigh it with the lightweight configuration with just the standard milled out bolt cap in there. As you can see, this doesn't have the gauge on there. So hopefully you can see that the gun is on. There is a battery in here. Okay, we got the scale zeroed out. Let's lay it on the scale. Ooh, made a little bit of a difference. 1 pound, 12.4 ounces. 1 pound, 12.4 ounces for the G3 Spec-R in the lightweight configuration. Very nice. So let's sum up the Dangerous Power G3 Spec-R. And what did I think about it? Did we have any problems with it? We had one small problem with it. And what happened, and it was actually kind of a silly problem, we were actually able to fix it, was one of the, or two of the board screws had come slightly loose. And what happened was when we were pushing the on-off button, the board was pushing forward against the trigger, so every time we would turn the gun on, the gun would go into programming mode. Pulled the grips off, realized what was happening, used one of those little jewelry screwdrivers, tightened down the board, didn't have any problems with it after that. Gun shot great, feels good on the field. Efficiency is not where you'd want it to be, but then again, this is a spool valve gun, it's a dump valve gun. Is the efficiency, the lack of efficiency worth the trade-off for the lightweight? I think for some people it is. There's some people that maybe because, maybe the younger players, maybe the smaller players, that don't want to be lugging around a really heavy gun. This is the way to go. 14-inch, 2-piece barrel, very lightweight, one of the lightest guns on the market, 1 pound, 12 ounces. I mean, you have to get into like over $1,000 Planet Eclipse special edition guns in order to get into that sub 2 pound range. Definitely one of the lightest, smallest, easiest to maintain guns that are on the market right now. I haven't seen too many aftermarket boards popping up for this. I'm sure they'll be coming out here really soon. But for 450 bucks, it's a great shooting gun. Like I said, it is a little bit loud. Do expect to have a little bit of kick. The sound signature of the dump valve is not traditional with a spool valve. It's very much like a pop, pop, pop. Almost feels like a pop-it valve gun. The dump valve does. But once again, extremely lightweight, and the gun shot great. The eyes work great. Delrin detents work great. 2-piece barrel work great. Great ASA that's on it. I definitely think it's a good effort. 450 bucks. I think it's going to be a great. This $450 price bracket is getting a lot better for these mid-range tournament guns. He's going to see how it stacks up, in 2010, going against the E-Tech 3s and stuff like that. But overall, I think it's, Dangerous Power definitely did a great job with this gun for 450 bucks. If you're looking for one of the lightest guns on the market, definitely take a look at the G3 Spec-R. Thanks for tuning in. '96, 207, good. Feels good there. You think you'll take one more?